those video mail questions in from Ben.
It's coming in now.
Quit playing with the antenna, Leo. Let's take a look.
I just wanted to find out, really, what the basic differences between certain firewalls. I know that Norton, McAfee, Zone Alarm, and then obviously XP has its own firewalls. I wanted to kind of find out what the difference were between all four.
Rob Reiner, ladies and gentlemen, with
one of our favorite directors and writers.
So, firewall, what is it?
A firewall is something that sits in between you and the internet, or your private home networking machine.
I'm a bad guy, I'm a hacker, I'm trying to get in, and I just can't get through that firewall it's protecting. But how do you get online?
Well, that's the thing, is what a firewall is, it's a fairly smart, sophisticated, programmers in the audience are now laughing hysterically as I say this, but it's sophisticated enough.
Yeah, that's true.
You teach it rules of behavior, and it goes, I have an HTTP request at port 80, and the firewall goes, hey, that's a web page request. Y'all go on through.
Basically, it's a holy wall. Right. It's not completely impervious. If it were, you wouldn't be able to use an internet. Right. So it allows traffic along certain well-known routes, and you as the user get to say which routes it allows traffic and which routes it doesn't.
Funny you should mention that. You as the user get to determine what gets open and what gets closed. That's one of the big differences between all these different firewalls you listed. Basically, they all do the same thing. Some of them do not do it as well as others. Example, Windows XP has a built-in firewall. Well, it works on the outside, but it does not prevent things that are loaded on your system from sending stuff out.
Now, what do I care about outgoing traffic? I can see, I mean, people are trying to get into my system, not trying to get out, right?
Well, that's the problem, is people may be trying to get into your system, but if they've got something on your system, that may be trying to get out to do a denial of service attack on another piece of the system, to send information from you, or to randomly do naughty things.
So if they get a mean, bad Trojan horse, if they somehow get a Trojan horse computer program on my computer, then it can go be from the inside out, and that's why you want to block both directions. Right. Now, there's a trade-off between the amount of information, the intelligence, the sophisticatedness of the user, and the flexibility of the firewall. Right. If you want to make a firewall that's easy for everybody to use, it's going to have a lot of default settings, and it's not going to be as configurable. On the other hand, a good firewall requires that the user know what they're doing and set up rules for each and every port. And that's kind of hard for
it can get a little frustrating.
My mom isn't going to do that.
Yeah, because it's like, you have a request for port 4373.
What do I do?
Well, that means you can open up your voicemail client or something.
So it makes sense that there are different firewalls for different people. Some are better than others. We recommend one, Zone Alarm, which is free, tiny firewall too, and pretty straightforward.
Firewall.
It's not difficult to use, but it does the basic job.
Yeah, and do we mention that they're free? They're free, they're effective.
That's the big thing.
There is a learning curve on them. What you're going to have to do is teach them every time you open or close something on your machine what is appropriate or what you allow. It's a lot easier on a home machine than it is on a machine, say like my notebook, which works both in behind a corporate firewall and a home.
And by doing it that way, it makes it so it's a good balance between ease of use and control. Now we have here some ones you pay for, like the McAfee firewall, and then this is one that's selling a lot right now. This is it's from Symantec Norton's Internet Security Suite, which is an antivirus, a firewall, an ad blocker. It does a lot more than just a basic firewall.
The thing is many of those things, the antivirus, to the contrary, there's only one free antivirus that we know of. In most cases, you're going to buy something like Norton Antivirus. Again, I am not related to that Norton.
There's some things in here I like.
There's some things in there like, I'm still using Zone Alarm or Tiny Personal Firewall because I'm cheap and I don't like spending extra money. One last thing, there are also hardware firewalls. You could spend millions of dollars for one that does stateful, like a high-end corporate
stateful inspection, they
which
call
apparently the SMC router, which is under $200,
good firewall.
apparently does stateful inspection, but most of them, what they do is, again, instead of putting an individual firewall in each system, you would put this in between your home network and the internet. Now, it's not as tight. You may actually want to use both this and an individual firewall if you're really...
Well, and that's
if you want the baby to be born with armor.
You're relying on the link system to be secure, and if there's a hole in that, then the firewall's going to have a hole.
Again, if you don't program it properly, it's not going to be as tight as it could be.
So basically, our answer is, for most people, get Zone Alarm or Tiny Firewall. We have links on the website to get that. If you're using a Mac, in a couple of weeks I'm going to show you how the OS X has a built-in firewall. It's very, very good stateful inspection firewall, and I'll show you how to turn that on and configure it. It's not on by default.
The Windows XP firewall, again, is not enough.
Insufficient.
It's half a firewall. Matter of fact, Black Ice Defender, some people are having some issues with.
Yeah, we don't recommend that anymore because of some issues with that. So I think Zone Alarm and Tiny Defender are good. We have it all at the website. In fact, we have recommendations. We have a list of all the different firewalls, their capabilities, their functions.
And we've got some links to some great sites to learn more.
Yeah, there's so much. We couldn't obviously cover all of it in just a few minutes. Tech TV's website, thescreensavers.com. Eric on the Intel Tech TV Netcam network from Summerville, South Carolina. Our next call. Hello, Eric.
Hello, Patrick and Leo. How you doing?
Well, great. How are you?
That's good. Pretty good, actually.
Okay. What can we do for you?
Yes, I'm a great believer of multitasking, and
aren't we all?
I got Windows Millennium, and I got 255 megs of RAM.
Okay.
And I'm trying to increase my Windows resources so that I can do more with my memory, and for some reason I keep running out before I can do everything I want to do.
It's very confusing. Windows resources does not equal RAM.
No, they're not the same.
Adding more RAM doesn't impact Windows resources. Windows sets aside a certain amount of memory, a fixed amount of memory, no matter how much RAM you have, to keep track of GUI things, by which I mean the graphic user interface, things like menus, things like windows, icons, all of that stuff. That's what system resources are. It's an area of memory where pointers to these various graphic user interface items is kept. Okay?
Okay.
What happens as you open more programs, open more windows, get more menus, is that area can get eaten up. Now, in the later versions of Windows, in theory, you have practically an infinite amount. So I wouldn't worry unless your resources get below 20%. However, if they are getting below 20%, there's a couple of problems. First of all, you may have too many you may have so many programs, but you'd have to have hundreds open. More likely, you have a program that's got a memory leak, that's consuming resources and not releasing it when it's done with them. So if you close all the programs, Eric, and you're still below 50% on your resources, you've definitely got a memory leak in one of those programs. The only way to fix that is to restart the machine.
Right.
There is, I want to underline that, there's no software out there, there's no memory program out there. I talked to Analog X, who wrote MaxMem, and he told me it cannot be done. Windows does not give you the capability of releasing that memory. So the only way to recover resources that are lost by a leak, in other words, lost forever, is to restart the machine. Unfortunately, in all versions of Windows up to Windows XP in 2000, restarting, and this includes ME, is just something you should do every few hours, and you do it more often if you churn it. Use a lot of programs, close them, open them, close them.
Whether you like it or not.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And there's no better fix.
It's immensely frustrating, but there's really no other way around it.
We like MaxMem, but it's not going to, that's a good memory. What it does is defrags the memory, but it does not release resources. Those things are lost forever if there's a leak. Okay?
Okie dokie.
Hey, thanks. And you can have more memory, but it ain't going to help.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
It's irritating. Still looking for that special somewhat. Yeah, well, that was a bold segment. It was irritating. Segue. You're looking for something exciting for Valentine's Day. Coming up next, an exclusive with the inventor of the Geek Detector, Mike Daisy.
The Find feature in the Start menu lets you find more than just files on your computer. You can open a URL, find a person in your address book, or search your Outlook mail.